Good day to you out there. You're welcome to another edition of Insurance Talk Show. I am Bola Adegbaju, and with me today I have Mr. Awosanmi Kolade Adeniro. Mr. Awosanmi, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
How has it been? How is the business of insurance out there?
Not bad, we're pushing it.
So you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Awosanmi Kolade is a thoroughbred professional in the insurance industry with over 18 years experience. He specializes in energy and special risk insurance. When you're talking of energy and special risk, you mean oil
Oil and gas.
That's where he specializes. So he's capable of handling the topic we are going to discuss today. He's currently the head of energy and special risk unit of International Energy Insurance PLC. Today we are going to be discussing marine insurance. And Mr. Awosanmi, what can you tell us about marine insurance? We always hear about it. Like, I have been hearing about it for years. What can you really say about marine insurance?
All right, thank you. First, I must appreciate what you're doing here.
Thank you so
educating
much.
the public about our business insurance.
Thank you.
Marine insurance is a very wide scope of a part of insurance, and incidentally, it is actually the first part of insurance that was developed. That every other insurances that we have today, fire, burglary, name it, they came out of marine insurance. I'll just quickly do a brief historical background. Is those years ago, several years ago, 1880 something, back in the UK, London,
I remember
yes, ship owners,
1806.
yes, 1806, ship owners, always had, they come and but they were now having issues. People will stake money on their cargoes, and they will just say that a ship is lost and all of that. So they came together and thought, what could they do then, and they now agree that whenever a ship goes out and doesn't return, they will contribute, together and give to those people that had goods on it or the ship. So, and they started out at the coffee houses in London, and that's what evolved into what we have as a marine insurance, and then from where every other insurances came from. So basically, marine insurance is a class of insurance that has to do with transportation by waterways. Whether any water body, it could be inland, it could be oceans and seas. So it has to do with that. So, and we have two major classes of marine insurance, which is marine hull. Marine hull has to do with the ship, the vessel itself, however, from the largest to the smallest types we have. And then we also have marine cargo, which caters to goods being transported, by those ships.
Thank you so
Generally
much.
speaking, yes.
We have marine hull
And marine cargo.
Marine cargo.
Yes.
So, who are those expected to take up this type of policy? What class of people do you want to advise to take up this kind of policy?
All right, thank you. Essentially, as we say, it is everybody, that has anything to do that will be at risk. Yes, especially
water.
yeah. So now, broadly speaking, ship owners, people that own these vessels, we call them, they need to take insurance. And again, for people that are importing, exporting business, they need to also take this insurance if you are importing things from abroad, so that if it's lost to the perils of the sea, you have a compensation in insurance, to make loss that good.
So is this marine insurance we are talking of is recommended for ship owners and those who import.
If you are
into
have interest in
importing,
anything, yes.
you have
Any
any interest. You want to import goods. You don't leave your goods like that at risk. Even though there is insurance from abroad, as you said, there used to be insurance from abroad. You have to insure it in Nigeria here too.
Definitely.
You have to insure it. So, what are the requirements? We are talking of marine cargo, what are the documentations? What are the documents, or what are the requirements for this marine oil?
Okay, so I'll just quickly touch on requirements for both. I'll start with marine cargo. Marine cargo essentially, as I said, is for people. You could be in your business, and you have a counterpart in the UK or United States, and you want to import certain
Goods.
equipment or goods,
Yeah.
for your use or for your factory. So once you are in correspondence with them, they will do you a pro forma invoice. That pro forma invoice is what states the cost of that equipment, and every other detail that is necessary. So one, for cargo, your pro forma invoice is very important. Yes, it states where the goods is coming from, the manufacturers, and every detail that an insurance company will want to know. And then if you are doing it directly, the importation, that will suffice. But if you are routing it through your bank, maybe they want to finance it, or maybe you are getting something from them in terms of loan, then they will also require that you produce a Form M.
Form M.
Yes, that Form M is designed from the Central Bank of Nigeria to make sure that they capture every forex details that is coming in. So it's going to have similar details like if pro forma invoice, but his own detail will be more tilted towards banking, so that they will know the exchange and all of that. So those two essentially for cargo marine cargo insurance. Yeah. So, and for ship owners, there are so many things that will require when you own a vessel, a ship or a boat or a yacht, whatever the class, as big. So one of the first thing is a survey report. That survey report of that vessel or ship, will tell us the current condition. It's like when you're doing motor insurance and you have an inspector come and look at your vehicle that is okay, is in working condition, like what our VIOs do, roadworthiness. So the same thing, we have seaworthiness for vessels on the sea. So that report will also let us know that, okay, your vessel is seaworthy. The last time you did the general maintenance, we call it dry docking. The last time you did that to check that everything is okay. And of course, there are classification certificates too that is required if you are going to be doing international waters. If you are going to be applying international waters, there are certain classification certificates. Of course, if you are working in Nigeria, you have to get a master certificate. They have to certify you. Of course, if you are going to be moving goods inland, there's what they call NIWA, Nigeria Inland Waterways Authority. Of course, we also have for our Lagos State, LASWA, Lagos State Waterways Authority. So all of these things, depending on your area of operation, are things that will request that you bring if you want to do insurance.
Okay. Did you mention the value? I don't
Okay,
know.
value is always very important. Of course, you must know the value of your ship, which of course will be indicated in the survey reports.
Survey reports. So, what advice do you give to people outside there, those who are doing importation, or those who want to do exportation? Because we do those two things, either importation or exportation.
Yeah.
So the importation is the marine insurance we are talking of. Yeah. What of those who are doing exportation?
Okay, thank you. I think the last couple of years there's been and of course the government of the day is encouraging people, Nigerians, to produce more things for export. We all know that Nigeria has been import dependent. We import more, but now there's a focus. We have SMEs, small and medium enterprises, producing things, and they're sending abroad. And well, because the scale of which they produce is not really that large yet, but we are getting there where people are producing in large masses. And of course, our industry, the insurance industry, with partners in the UK, are coming up with a program. Of course, some insurance companies do the exports, but the danger there is that seeing what happens over there, because you don't have offices there, you don't have representatives, so that's why a lot of people don't do it. And the beauty of insurance is, for example, the import we do, after everything has listed on your pro forma invoice gets to Nigeria, we have professional cost superintendents that will go to the ports to look at them and check that everything is intact and has described. So if you are doing export, you must have somebody, a counterpart, wherever that export is going, to go and confirm that it landed there safely. So, and that's why, the cost, the associated cost, so that it's not making a lot of people go into it. But the industry, as I said, the Nigerian Insurance Association is working in partnership with some agencies in the Lloyd's in UK. So they are coming up with a program that will enable all insurance companies to participate, in that export promotion business. Yes.
So, okay, when you're talking of the oil,
marine
oil insurance, what exactly are the things covered? What is the scope of covered? Because some people will say, my ship got damaged, there is mechanical fault, all kinds of complaints. What exactly should a policy holder expect to be covered under marine oil insurance?
Okay, thank you very much. Marine oil basically covers the ship, hull and machinery on the ship against the perils of the sea. Perils could be storm. Storm can damage it. You can have even collision happen on the ice seas, sometimes when there's a tempest, when there's so many, you could have like a whale attack. A whale or shark can attack a ship and damage it. So anything that could cause damage, to the ship and it's everything on it. That's why we call hull and machinery. It's covered, and that's essentially the broadest cover we can have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kolade Awosanmi.
Thank you.
If you're out there and you have any information, you have a question you want to ask as regards marine insurance, you can call 0902 569 1960. 0902 569 1960. You can call. The lines are open. We have WhatsApp number for you to send a message to if you cannot call. The number is 0806 192 3347. 0806 192 3347. So send in your messages, and at the same time you can also call us as we are discussing. We'll be willing to attend to your questions. So, Mr. Awosanmi Kolade,
yes, ma'am.
Are there other insurances or insurance policies that can be packaged with marine insurance?
Well, yes, broadly speaking, and I want to try not to be too technical.
Okay.
But we have, for example, there are some CAR and EAR, erection or risk and construction or risk policies that are coupled with the marine. Why? Because a lot of those things they will use are imported, so you can have it as a package policy. When you do your CAR, a section is always, for the marine cargo, for those things that you need on site that are coming in, and what that does is covers that project if anything happens to that, to those equipment or goods that you will need on the sea. Normally, you're not supposed to be bothered about it, but because it is tied into your project, then you're covered.
Okay, thank you so much. And we have been discussing marine insurance. We have spoken about the types of marine policies we have. We have cargo. Do you still want to educate us more on?
Yeah.
Because I know we have not exhausted.
Yes. It is. And to the curious mind, marine insurance is a very, big, and as I said earlier, and beautiful, that covers, a lot of what we do. I'll quickly I want to talk about covers available. Covers available in marine, just like I know a lot of people, and that's why I try to compare in explaining, are familiar with motor insurance. I try to compare. That's a lot, the one we know most. So also in marine we have different classes. We call them institute cargo clauses, ICC. We have ABC, but the most popular are A and C. And the way I always explain to a non-insurance person is that ICCA is like our motor comprehensive, because ICCA is an all risk cover.
You say
Yes.
clause A,
Clause A is an all risk cover which covers every known peril on the sea.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we also have ICCB, which is the Institute Cargo Clause B, which covers some perils, jettisoning.
Not as
wide as A.
A.
And then we have the list, which I liken to third party, which
Clause
is C. So clause C, and these different clauses, they have different rates that we apply to them, and that we always advise our clients, to go for A, which is the all risk. So anything you can imagine.
Comprehensive cover.
Exactly. So and there are other institute clauses though that doesn't fall within these three. We have, for example, the institute frozen foods clause that covers we have refrigerated vessels. All they do is from the IC where people are catching trawlers, where they are taking fish, large quantities from the sea, they will store it into refrigerators on the vessel. So those ones, the clause that covers them is what they call the Institute Frozen Food Clause. Of course, we also have the Institute Commodity Clause. Now that covers, other things, that are not strictly within the usual, Of course, we also have the Institute Bulk Oil. That covers anything that has to do with liquid. For example, oil and gas.
Okay,
shipment.
let's leave the technical part of it. But there's a question I want to ask you, Mr. Kolade, and that is, do we have exclusions in marine insurance? Because I remember there was a time my client that used to import stockfish. It's stockfish eggs, and I discovered the insurance companies were giving some rules. It must be protected, it must be maybe you can explain
yes, of course,
like
there is
stockfish now.
Yeah, I understand what for example, it is very important. It has exclusions. For example, the frozen food that I mentioned, there are certain for example, if you are taking fish, frozen fish, for example, there is an exclusion that or any perishable goods, the general exclusion is that the insurance will not cover anything that it is inherent. If that thing is inherent in it, like you carry fish, for example, without properly refrigerating it, 2-3 days is getting bad.
It's bad.
So those ones are inherent vices within those products. Insurance will not cover it, but insurance will cover, your refrigeration at a temperature. They will tell you if you are going to do this temperature must be maintained throughout the voyage, throughout the movement of the ship, and so those are going to be claused. But there are some things like you want to carry vegetables, for example, from somewhere, and they will also clause your packaging. The way you package it. Yes, it is important. So that one thing about sea transport is the water is salty. So when salt gets, it will damage. Yes, definitely damage the product. So there is a way you must package it, and it will be certified that it's protected from those atmospheric things.
Okay, thank you. There's another question I have here about marine insurance and goods in transit. I have seen customers that will say when their goods land, it must still be covered from the seaport to maybe the warehouse. Is marine insurance covering that, or does it cover that from seaport to warehouse?
Okay, thank you. That's an interesting question. And again, it goes to the type of cover that you have. As I said, if, for example, you have a clause A, and the contract will state where, for example, we have contracts that will say from port to port. Now, when it says port to port, that means port A to port B. That's the end. So, of course, we have contracts that say warehouse to warehouse. So, those are the terms. Those terms are already, agreed and stated on the policy document. So, and that's, of course, it will have been charged. Port to port is usually less than warehouse to warehouse. And so, when you have warehouse to warehouse, when it gets to the port, the insurance will still cover it from the port to the warehouse, where there will be inland transit, what we call GIT, but GIT is basically on land. I'll come back to that. But in marine, we call it inland transit, because once it is not on water, but you need to move it from maybe the port to the warehouse.
To the warehouse. Is there an additional?
No, not an additional. But of course, well, you may say you must have put it together, because once you say that's what you want, we'll have factored it into the rates that we are giving you for the premium.
Okay.
So that's why it's covered. So some are just port to port, it stops at there. So with GIT, is entirely different class of insurance, which basically operates on land, and you can have it from the ports, to your warehouse, wherever it is. So, but just like the question you had asked the other time, it can be added to a marine. Once you say you want it warehouse to warehouse, so it will cover that part.
Okay. Another question came up, and that is, marine insurance, does it cover the offloading and loading? What type of loading?
Yeah.
You want to offload, you want to download, you want to
Interesting. Yes, interesting. Just like some of these terms we find them, because insurance is the same. We find it mostly in GIT, goods in transit. But yes, and that's why you remember I mentioned something about superintendents. It is it covers loading and offloading, marine generally, because when you at that port where the goods are coming from, they will load it onto the vessel. And once you do your insurance through the pro forma, the insurance starts from there. When they load it, stack it. Some people are there that they fill out your bill of lading. That's what will state, okay, this social number of quantities was loaded, intact, there was no, they will tell you all the specifics. That bill of lading, when the goods gets here, is what the superintendent that the insurance company sent will look at and confirm that those goods actually arrived in the same way here, untampered with, in the same conditions, and all of that. So it covers loading, offloading, when it gets.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kolade. There is another question I would like to ask. Before I go to that, let me just make this announcement, because we have some events coming up in the industry. We always announce them here, and we have one on the 1st of November to the 3rd of November. That's the one I had now, an upcoming event in the industry. We have education conference by Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria. It's being organized by CIIN, the Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria, on the 1st of November, 2nd November, and 3rd of November. So if you are available, try and attend this conference coming up very soon. Thank you. So what advice do you have for the people out there about this type of policy about marine insurance? Because I know, okay, there's one other case in which there was no good protection, or maybe there was a delay, like the vessel developed a fault, and along the line some of the goods got damaged. So will the insurance company settle that? Because it's not the fault of the owner of the goods. It's the fault of the owner of the ship. So what will happen in that kind of situation?
Thank you for the question. This is an operational question. It has happened, and I told the insurance is time tested. It has evolved over the years. So basically, for example, the vessel, let's say for example, your goods coming, there is an insurance on the vessel. There's insurance on the cargo.
Yes.
So now, what the insurance on the marine hull covers is the body and the machinery. So if there should be a breakdown of the machinery while bringing your goods, and goods get spoiled, the insurance will pay, because either way there's an insurance to cover it, because that mechanical fault was not as a result of the owner of the goods.
So basically, should we call that one liability? liability, third party liability.
Well, not really. The way marine insurance contracts are, and especially for imports, everybody has their parts. For example, not all the ships that you see are owned by people. Some people lease out this ship. So we have interest of the leasers. We have interest of, they call them charterers. They charter those vessels just to move. So people, according to their interest, even the owner will have, their own interest. So everybody's interest is covered within a marine oil insurance or cargo.
So it depends on what you want.
Your interest, yes.
You will tell us what
exactly
type
what
of cover you want,
exactly.
and we'll make a provision for that.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kolade. It's so nice to have you around.
It's my pleasure.
We have been discussing marine insurance and want to believe that most people out there listened to us, and we'll say that you send your questions. If you have contributions and questions, you can direct your questions to victoriaadegbaju@gmail.com, or you can still send a WhatsApp message to 0916 106 1007, 0916 106 1007. I am Bola Adegbaju. Mr. Kolade Awosanmi, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.